So I watched that horror movie Hokum, which I've heard a lot of praise for this movie. I'll be honest, I thought this movie was just okay. This is like Backrooms to me, where I'm like, well, it's getting a lot of praise, and like Backrooms, I found this movie just to be okay. Not bad, just overrated personally, for me at least. When it comes to the positives with this movie, it has some decent atmosphere. I think the folklore is interesting a little bit, and I do think the design of the Wisp looked a little creepy. That's really about it with this movie. When it comes to like the story of the movie, I found it really slow. The first 47 minutes, I was like, this is moving incredibly slow. I don't have a problem with slow bones. For me, it's like you gotta make it interesting if you're gonna do a slow bone, and it just felt so slow. I was like, are we gonna go somewhere soon with this? I also felt like they didn't dive enough into the folklore, and I haven't watched too many like horror movies based around like folklore like that. I feel like they could have dived more into this in this movie, and like trying to combine the two with the folklore horror story and this inn that he stays at that his parents went to, main character's parents, and then also with the story of the main character where he's this depressed writer who writes like all these dark, bleak books. I feel like those two storylines didn't work that well together personally. I also felt like Adam Scott, who I'm a big fan. You know, he's a great actor. I didn't buy him in this role. And he also doesn't talk too much as character in this movie, so I just never really got any sort of investment in his character. And also, I don't have a problem with a character if they're a dick. If you want to make like a character like an asshole, there's a way to have a character be an asshole and still have you invested in the character and care about his character and find some way to make him likable. But he was just even by the end of the movie, even though like at the end of the movie he changes, I never really bought into it. The chains. I just never bought him as his character. Like him trying to act like this depressed writer, I was like, this isn't really. I'm not buying it. And also, his character is just not very interesting to me. I found his character really boring, and there was really nothing to his character outside of him being a dick. Like I just didn't get a whole lot of personality from his character in this movie. I was like going like, yeah, I just don't. His character is just really boring to me. And I also think like when you find out later on that his reason why he's depressed, when you see that as a kid he shot his mom by accident when he was playing with his dad's gun. I feel like you could have dived more into that. We only get into that stuff until like towards the end of the movie, and for me personally, it just by that point, I just really didn't find any sort of. I didn't have any attachment towards his character. The fact that he was really extremely unlikable and he was just a very boring, uninteresting character to me, and it just overall he didn't fit the role personally for me at least. I felt like you could have dived more into that element with his character, and also like when he tries to kill himself in this movie, I felt like they brushed over that pretty quick. Like he's in the hospital for like a couple of seconds after that, and then he's back at the end. I'm like, I felt like you brushed over that really quick. So it's a movie where, yeah, I think like the little bit of folklore we get with this evil west is interesting. I just don't feel like they really dive all that much into it, and there's some like decent atmosphere. At the end of the day, though, I found this movie extremely slow, predictable. There's some jump scares in this movie, which I'll be honest didn't do a whole lot for me. And I know this movie is directed by the director did The Odyssey, which I love that horror movie. I think that was the director's first movie. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. I love The Odyssey. That's still, in my opinion, his best movie. I think he did direct something else between Odyssey and this, which I haven't seen that movie. I didn't think this movie was anywhere as good as Odyssey. Just for me personally, I found Hokum to be just very okay, average horror movie. It just to me the jump scares didn't really didn't really do anything for me. I didn't find myself invested in Adam Scott's character. I also just felt like he was kind of miscast in an environment as well. I don't think they dive enough into the folklore with the Wiz. And I felt like the two storylines didn't really work together that well. Because I feel like we didn't dive enough into either of those storylines and just connecting them together just it didn't really like for me it didn't like work well together those two storylines completely. So it's a movie that I think is okay. Like this is one of those movies I do find overrated, like Back Rooms, where I'm like, it's fine. It's not bad or anything. It's just I thought it was mid. So that's my overall thoughts on Hokum. It was a decent horror movie, nothing special personally for me. Until next time, movie fans.